Oh, hey Tim, how are you today? I am fabulous. It is Happy Friday. Casual Friday, shall we say?
Casual Friday. We're hanging out. I'm doing good, feeling good. It's early summer when we're recording this, so bright and sunny, hot day down here in Texas. I can't go wrong.
Oh, I mean, I'm still fairly new to the US, but back home it's 12 degrees. I think that's about 50
That's not great
Fahrenheit.
for
It's not
June.
great.
Come
That's
on,
it's not great. So here in New York, it's 29, it's
29's
85,
nice.
it's glorious, and
Yeah,
I am such a happy being right now.
yeah. See, well, welcome to America.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm so happy. Okay, first question of the day is how do you like your coffee in the morning?
I like it in the can of Red Bull. I actually don't drink coffee. I never acquired the taste. It was always too bitter. I have a huge sweet tooth, and
Mm.
so coffee, beer, I just never got into them. Which you probably, uh, as a patriot of the UK, are probably like, what? You're not drinking coffee or having beer, considering we have that's like literally all we drink here in our chilly Northwest Europe climate. But no, yeah, I never got into either of those. So my coffee is just a sugar-free Red Bull in the morning. I have one, like a little one,
Yeah,
what is it,
little
a little
bitty.
8 ounce, 12 ounce, or
Yeah,
8 ounce one, whatever it is. Yeah, 8 ounce one, and that's what kind of gets me going. So, and it's sugar
amazing.
free,
And
so it's the same amount of caffeine and just no sugar, so that's good.
yeah, exactly. It has kind of all of the same effects. And then just out of curiosity, then what do you switch to throughout the rest of the day? Because I presume you're not going to be hitting yourself up with all of these mini Red Bulls
No,
throughout the day.
no, I try to do one and done and try to push through. I try to rely on a good morning boost with that exercise, and just kind of getting up from the desk, staying limber, stretching out, doing the walks that I need to keep me energized throughout the day. I try not to over caffeinate. They say you definitely shouldn't have anything like after like 3, 4 p.m.
Yeah.
anyway. But if I do, I'm kind of like up all night. So I try to limit it just to that one. If I'm doing like a speaking gig or something, and I need a jolt right before I get up on stage, maybe I'll have one more. But definitely try to limit it just to one. I need to keep my heart healthy.
Yeah. Everything you're saying is all very healthy habits, of which I absolutely endorse. Now, you mentioned that you're speaking. So tell
Mhm.
me, Tim, what is it that you do and why do you do it?
Yeah, so I am a global keynote speaker. I'm also a fractional CMO and also a dog lover, dad, entrepreneur at heart, motorcyclist, all the things, lots of things. But corporately, I do the speaking, and I also do fractional CMO work. And most of the speaking I do is actually on how professionals in various industries, but mostly my domain expertise is within the travel, meetings, and events industry, can utilize an entrepreneurial mindset to achieve rapid growth and success in a near term. And that's my entrepreneurial mindset talk that I give. And I wrote a book on that, which you can see right here, where the point correctly, it's
Yeah.
called The Marketing Starter. It's all about how marketers can utilize this entrepreneurial or starter mindset, as I call it, to just rapidly accelerate their careers and be able to do more with less. So that's what I speak on. And then as a marketer, since we're on the show, I also am a fractional CMO. I work with a few different clients today, just helping them what I call jumpstart their marketing. So my niche, my focus as a fractional CMO is to come into companies where their marketing's a mess, or they just have false started it and they just don't know how to get it going and just kind of rolling. So it's kind of more of that 0 to 1 or 0 to 1.5 or 0.5 to 1.5 type of approach versus the big scale up. I found myself in my career, and hence why I wrote the book, just having to restart so many times. And I was like, well, maybe I can make a career out of this. And I found plenty of work and clients and other companies that also see that, right? They're in that spot of where we're like, we just can't get over this weird little marketing hump that we have. And so I try to help them do that. So I mostly work with later stage startups, early stage scale ups, post revenue, kind of maybe underneath that, $10 million type of revenue mark, that where the CEO or the other executives still have their hands in marketing but shouldn't. That's when I come in and add value.
I love it. I love it. And that gives us the premise of today's episode, because we're going to go into that entrepreneurial mindset. We're going to go into those messy businesses when trying to get those marketing to scale up. And then tertiary, we're going to go into AI. We've got ChatGPT 5 coming out this summer, and that has massive impacts to the small business world, which does make up 95% of the market. So what's that wave going to look like? But first, the entrepreneurial mind. Now, I'm getting close to about interviewing 40 to 45 different entrepreneurs. Starting to see a pattern through this podcast on what, the ones who make it and break it. And I have a sports background as well, which I do believe helps with the entrepreneurial mind.
Sure.
But you're the expert, and I want to know from you, what does the entrepreneurial mind look like?
Am I the expert, or am I just pretending to be? I don't know if there's an expert in the entrepreneurial mind, right? And the reason I say that is because this is a mindset of where you're just always testing and blowing things up. So the expert, or the person who's really good at this, is okay with tons of failure, right? I think that's maybe coming from the sports background. You're not going to win every game. You can't sincerely expect that as an athlete. You're going to go in and you're going to perform at your best every single time, or you're going to put in all of that practice, and then you're going to go on the field or the court or whatever, and you're going to just perform at 100% and win everything. It's impossible. That's not how it is. And so you have to balance your dream and your head in the clouds with your feet on the ground, and what is reality and what is the real world, which is getting knocked down and just being capable and willing to brush it off, as much as it bruises your ego, as much as it hurts, and get back on the horse again. And that's a lot of what I try to preach and talk about and motivate people to do, because entrepreneurship is not for everyone. But I do believe that we can glean from some of these entrepreneurs, including the people you've met. You are one as well, me, in whatever small capacity. Anyone can glean some of that, what I call the starter superpower, right? And apply it to what they do. And really, it starts with just ownership. And so if I were to say, what does that expert take? It's like, own your stuff. Be the entrepreneur for whatever small piece of marketing or sales or operations or whatever role that you might be doing. Treat that as if it's your own company within a company. And that's kind of how you would get started. So it's kind of like that first thing is like, if this was my business, how would I run it? Let me start doing it that way and start pushing the boundaries a little bit.
I love that. And actually, really coincidentally, I heard Roger Federer's stats only a couple of days ago. And he was doing a speech on a little bit of his career to college graduation. And he was like, perfection doesn't exist. Now, he is one of the greatest tennis players of all time. Now, I'm not big into tennis, but I know exactly who he is and watched him play. And he said, now I'm probably going to butcher these stats a little bit, so forgive me, but it boiled down to he only won 70% of his games, and within those games he lost 50% of his points. So he knew that for every point he won, he also lost a point. And that's the best in the world. So you can imagine anybody below him, which is some very, very good tennis players, like that's almost the top of the game, is if you're kind of a 1-to-1 ratio.
Yeah. And
that can almost be applied to business as well. Every time you do something new, or every time you do something, you just got to know, okay, I lost a point today, or tomorrow, hey, I won a point today. And if you know that if you're just able to keep winning points and just keep, and also keep losing points, you're on some kind of right track,
Exactly. So, I mean, even in another analogy, would be like Michael Jordan didn't win every game either, right? If you go back to when I was a kid in the Jordan years, such a great time. There is no such thing as perfection. We're human and we're relying on other people. And I think that a lot of times when we're building something new and something we're passionate about, and when we go, okay, I'm going to go all in this entrepreneurial mindset, one of the first things to knock you down is when it isn't perfect, because you've invested so much of your personality, your time, your effort, your soul into some of these things. But you have to pad that in, like you said. You have to understand that there's no such thing as perfect, and perfect is the enemy of good, right? Because you have to get to good first before you get to great, and great is before perfect, and you'll just never get to that. So perfect is the enemy of good. I've heard that a lot, and I've also heard that getting something done is also better than perfect, especially in a fast-paced startup-y world. Like, yeah, it can't be a total piece of crap, but if you're trying to achieve perfection, you're never going to get this project done, or anything done for that matter, if you're always trying to achieve perfection, right?
No, exactly. Oh, absolutely. I mean, we could delve into that, but this is the mindset, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
What are some of your top tips to get into that mindset? So for me, I come from a sporting background where I've spent almost 25 years now learning. If I want to learn something new, I can totally do it if I put my mind to it. That's now the mentality I have, because I've over time experienced, hey, I'm trying to think, what's something I'm trying to learn at the moment? Okay, I'm trying to get better at cardio, for example. It's just, I'm naturally a strength person, okay? I can nail strength. Cardio, not so much. So, but I know if I run a 15K and I do a 40K bike ride every single week, 52 times, in 1 year's time, I'm going to be in a much better place on my cardio. It might not be my goal, but at least it will be a small percentage further ahead from where I am at now.
Yep.
That's what I've learned. What are some top tips on how they can also learn that kind of mentality?
Yeah, well, it comes down to that fixed versus growth mindset. Fixed or stagnation, not doing anything. Have you seen that? There was that meme that's gone around like over the past few years. It looks like a little stick guy, like a stick drawing, and it's like he's poking. It's like, come on, do something. A lot of times it's like for a sports team. Like I've seen it. It's like a guy and he's standing there and he's like poking like the Chicago Bears logo. I'm a Bears fan. It's like, do something, because they're terrible. I don't know if you've seen that. Well, in my presentation I found that, but it's the guy, and above it it's me. It says me, and then what he's poking is me. You have to motivate yourself, right? You can't be stagnant. Just like any company in this capitalistic world that we live in, stagnation is not good. You need to grow to thrive. You need to grow to make the world ultimately a better place and help people. You don't do that by remaining stagnant. Even if you're in a nonprofit, it's the same thing. The nonprofits still want to grow. They're still a business, right? So whether you're making profit or you're not making profit, or even a government entity, the government we know loves to grow. So maybe that one we can stop growing that one so much. But it's overcoming being fixed. It's overcoming that couch potato mentality. And it doesn't have to be, to your example, it doesn't have to be something monumentous all the time. It's just like a little goal. It's like, I'm going to get up 30 minutes earlier. I'm going to create a task list and get one extra thing done for this project a day or a week that's going to help move that timeline and get it done faster. It's just coming up with in your head, and to your analogy about doing the run, doing the bike ride, which actually sounds like a lot to me in a week. See, for me, I'm like, okay, if I could just run 15 minutes a day, that would equal a 15K, and then I've got my 15K, as opposed to knocking it out in one day. That's like crazy.
I mean, if it helped me, because I will admit, it took me 2 weeks to get into this routine. Now I know I can go to that volume because I've got years of training behind me. I haven't just gone straight into that volume. I should preface that. But I went and bought myself a cute outfit. Like, I went and bought myself a new running bag. I bought myself a new outfit clothing, and shockingly, I wanted to go running because I had my cute outfit. You know?
Well, you know what's so interesting about that is my wife is the exact same way, and I think that's I mean, I like to do that too. I'm like, oh, I got my new gym shoes, and I want to go try these out. So maybe that akens to the point of attach it to something that will help motivate you, but it's just do something. Anything. just move the needle in that direction. It doesn't have to be big. It can be so small. As long as you're not being stagnant and you're not just sitting on the couch, you're making something happen to achieve growth. That is literally the first step you got to take to start applying this entrepreneurial type of mindset, in my opinion.
No, I love it. And that kind of also very relates to the messy businesses, the messy the messy marketing. It's got a nice alliteration to it. The messy marketing. So this is one of your niches where you're right. I very much live in the same world, and that's why I was excited to talk about it. Where, you know, the CEO or the COO has very much got their hands in it. Nobody's got real responsibility or real accountability for any of it. And don't necessarily always have the experience of driving marketing and sales campaigns. This is definitely going to be kind of a big open question, but what's some of the biggest mistakes that they've made? Is it stagnation? Have they just got themselves into a lack of consistency around it, or a lack of focus, or, you know, what's the things that's holding them back from being those superpower scale-ups?
We're talking about the company at large, the CEOs or the marketers. Who is the they in your scenario?
Let's just take the business entity as a whole, and you, Tim, are stepping into with your super cape on and helping them out. What do they need to do, and what's the usual commonalities across them all?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, the commonality is what I call this false start, which is they think they can do much more than they can without building out the fundamentals, as silly as that sounds from a marketing perspective, or not acknowledging the power that marketing has and what muscle they need to flex with marketing earlier on. A lot of times, you know, they'll be like, well, we don't need marketing now. We have our salesperson, we have me, the CEO, we can handle it. We can tackle it. We can get it to where it needs to be. And then they get to that point where they go, whoa, this looks like trash. We've messed this up, and now we need Tim to come in and fix it. Which, like I said, I've made a business of doing that because a lot of companies do that. So I guess if I say this out loud, maybe they'll stop and then I won't have any business. So I don't know, Charlie. Maybe I should keep quiet. I don't know. I'm just kidding. but that's what it is. It's not looking at how much marketing influence is needed out of the gate. Without marketing at the very beginning, you have no product, you have no service, you have no way of communicating. And it's just as simple as even like hiring a consultant or a fractional CMO like you and I to just help them build a launch plan, a go-to-market plan, a communications plan, a something that then they can, with their limited resources, execute on. But when they don't know marketing and they don't have that domain expertise and they try to do that themselves, it goes off the rails quickly, or they hobble along with terrible messaging, or their website looks bad, or they never could quite get the results that they needed from marketing campaigns because everything is all ad hoc all the time. They need someone to kind of centralize it and give them a pathway forward to actually handle all the tactical stuff that's going to support it. So I see that as one of the biggest pitfalls. And luckily, you know, it's never too late. You can always come in and write the ship for them and fix things for them. And that's what, again, I've made a career of doing that. And that's kind of what I help to specialize in, is to come in and take a look at all the resources that exist, really look at what their core problem is that they're having in marketing, and then get those resources working to support that, and then bring in all the other necessary pieces to then get it to start to, again, tumble down the hill and get the ball rolling for them. So yeah, acknowledging that power of marketing is something they need to do out of the gate and get the help that they need earlier rather than, you know, when it's too late. I think that's one of our biggest challenges as marketers.
Now, one of the things that you just said there that I think is really important and interesting is getting the fundamentals right. Mm-hmm. We have this natural thing as humans, especially entrepreneurs, that just want to go, and, you know, try and get to that goal as quick as possible, you know, and like you said, almost just chuck everything at it rather than actually. This is actually almost the opposite of what we just said, where we're just like saying, just go and just do good, you know, and do things. well, this is what I'm getting
You
at.
got to
This
do
is
good. You got to do.
yeah.
I see where your thought process is going here. We're saying like done is better than perfect. Get something done, make something happen. But then on the other side, we're saying like, well, you got to do it right. Well, no. So you got to do it good, and there are certain things in order to do it good, right? If you're going to go out and you're going to do your 40K bike ride, you need the right kind of bike. You're not going to use a mountain bike riding around Manhattan with big lumpy fat tires, right? If you're going to ride that distance, you need the skinny tire, like race biker. I'm not a bicyclist. I don't know what they call it, but you know what I mean? You need the right kind of bike.
I've got a road bike with special city wheels.
There you go. Yes.
Yeah,
a road
exactly.
bike with special city wheels to ride in New York. So you look at the environment you have. So this is a perfect analogy. You have a goal, you're trying to do something, and you're like, okay, I need to ride 40K a month. Great. You have your vision, you have your mission. How do you get there? And you say, or 40K a week. We'll just make it 40K a day because you're super fit. You got this. You have your goal, you have your mission. You're like, okay, cool. So we have our North Star. Hit that, right? Okay, how do we get there? Well, I'm just going to go buy a bike. I'm just going to get any bike, right? And you buy a knobby tire, something slow, one gear, and all of a sudden you're like, wow, it's taking me a lot longer to get here. I wish someone would have told me what kind of bike to get. Oh, hey, there's Tim and Charlie. We'll tell you that this is the kind of bike that you need. So let's supplant that onto marketing. That's what I'm trying to say is that yes, your thought process is in the right place of just getting going, starting to reach your goal. That's fine, but don't pretend that you're going to be able to get there with the wrong tool, with the wrong bicycle in this analogy. You need the right one, and that's where the expertise will help you.
Exactly. And so what in marketing is those fundamentals? What are those fundamentals that you almost have to get right? So what is that bike? What is that outfit? What is that hydration in marketing? What you have to nail first before you can even go and try and attempt the 40K bike ride?
Sure. So there could be a million different takes at this. And every, I think, marketing expert will say like, oh, you should do this first, you should do that first. So I'm not going to pretend that my way of doing it is the way. There's a billion different ways. What I've seen from my experience, so I'll keep it at that level, and where I help people out is centralizing certain things to make sure that everyone is on the same page related to the marketing plan. And those elements that I see most commonly, especially with the companies I work with, where it's most difficult, is around messaging, is around knowing who your market is and how they're going to be receptive to them, and then the channels that then you should be focusing on to support the campaigns within that. Starting with the messaging, though, to me is the centralized thing. It's crazy that I've worked with companies that are 10 plus years old and don't even have a messaging framework document. And I'm just sitting here going, how do you not have that? And I immediately know it too because I usually send out a questionnaire to when I'm onboarding or starting to work with a client. And I go, well, what are the chief problems? And one of the things they say is like, we need to get everyone speaking the same language. Like we hear different people pitch our company in different ways. And I'm like, okay, well, did you ever write that down? And they're like, well, no. Okay, well, did you write it down and train people? Well, absolutely not. Well, why not? Why don't you have this central framework of messaging that you can go after? And it's such a simple product marketing exercise that I think would be a great one for any marketer to have in their pocket is like, how do I put together a messaging framework? 1, 2, 3. Be able to have that in your pocket, because that's something that I think will help you be a great marketing starter and dip into a little bit of the generalist, even if you're trying to be more focused. But knowing how to do that, because a lot of these companies don't, the founders and CEOs certainly do not. They never even thought of it. It's usually in their head, and you got to unpack it and pull it out of them. So I always try to start there, because you literally can't do anything else. Sometimes they've done ICP exploration and personas. Great, they've done some of that work, but what do you say to them? You never did step 1, which is the messaging piece. It's still all up here, and you're expecting everyone on your team to get it right, and you're wondering why your ads aren't hitting. You're wondering why your social media is disjointed. You're wondering why you are iterating constantly on your conference backdrop, and like, I don't know what to say for this, because you didn't write it down and you didn't do the work on the messaging piece. So I think that's a big fundamental.
I would absolutely 100% agree. And I would even argue there's a lot of business out there that don't even really know about the messaging in ICP. And I only say that only because I've heard the phrase so many times of, I help anybody who needs X service. So, and I'll contextualize, and I do apologize for picking this industry. I don't mean it to point it out. I'm just using it as an example, but it'll be like, I help any company who needs cybersecurity. Well, don't tell me jack shit.
There's no way. Yeah. You have a specific ethos, you have a specific belief, you work with the companies who share that with you, right? Like the whole Simon Sinek start with why type of mentality. Yeah. There is a finite group, and you have to whittle that down and define what that is. And yeah, again, another simple exercise. And it's so funny how many people don't get that. You know, they just think they can be everything to everybody, and you can't. And when you do that, when you have a messaging like that, instead of actually being everything to everybody, you're nothing to no one.
Exactly. But I always put like a little bit of fairness in place. I think we do have this luxury of seeing the impact of what happens when the messaging is wrong. You know, we feel it because we are so accountable and responsible for the results of the marketing. And when we see the results not doing well and not performing well, we feel it a lot more in our core. And then we see the dramatic impact at just getting the language right. You know, even saying just little things like saying collaboration and opportunity and some of these more psychological words that we know are triggers in people's minds. Yep. And we see like, oh, great, then the results are way better. Of course, we're going to go, this is amazing. This is going to be the big game changer for your business if you really want to become this super scale up. So that's I'd say the other side of it. Now, as we kind of head towards the end of the podcast, and one of the highly topical subjects that's going on at the moment of the year, I'm going to say, is AI in marketing. We do have big subjects, and appreciate we're not going to go into too much depth, but you know, ChatGPT 5 is coming out. It's going to have a big wave into the business. But AI in marketing, how should businesses be using it, and how shouldn't they be using it? What's the do's and don'ts of AI in marketing?
Yeah, again, so my opinion may vary from others in this realm, because it's going to depend very much too on your personal ethos, like how you believe in using certain tools available to you, and then also what you can do for the company you work with. I mean, you may work in cybersecurity or government or something, and you can't even touch the stuff, so it doesn't matter, right? Because there's going to be a lot of rules around using these cloud-based tools and sharing of information and blah, 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 blah. Like, so you have to follow those rules, number one. I mean, did you see how Apple said, hey, we're going to be integrating ChatGPT into our new phones?
Yeah.
And instead of developing their own, they're going to integrate ChatGPT, which fine, whatever. But then Elon Musk is like, you can't bring that phone into my office because I don't trust it. And it's going to be, and they're like, no, it'll be fine. And he's like, no, like, so you're going to see a lot of this. Obviously, and he's like he's very concerned about the way AI is going, along with some other tech leaders. So maybe he's overly cautious, but we don't know if he's being overly cautious or not. We're not sure. So
they have, and I'll be the first to say that there was a lot of stuff about Elon Musk that I don't like about him. There's a lot of stuff I definitely respect. I definitely do respect about him. He is an incredibly smart guy who is incredibly knowledgeable in this space, and he absolutely does have authority when it comes to this stuff. He's not just this sort of BZ celebrity who's got no kudos behind him. He has done some incredible things. Yeah. And so his opinion does have a lot of validity around it, like you said. It's like, you're saying. When I saw that come out, it did shift my opinion a little bit. Because I was like, yeah, great. ChatGPT and iOS, because I'm an Apple user, that sounds great. What could possibly go wrong? But then my knowledge is not as in-depth as his.
Yeah.
Which made me stop a little bit and go, oh, actually, I should maybe do some more digging here and we'll see more research here to find out what some other layers are.
So that's where I would start as a marketer too. So whatever you think of his opinion, if it sways yours or not, I'm just calling that out as an example. Marketers should heed that caution, because there are a few things that I look at top level as a marketer when I'm using any of these AI tools, which are fantastic for content generation, optimization. They're great for SEO engagement. They're great for customer segmentation, helping with personalization.
Great
There's a
with
million
grammar
things.
checking.
There's a million things you can use it for. Great. So all that aside, that's not what I advocate for or talk about. When I ever talk about AI, which I'm actually giving a presentation after our recording about this to some marketers, to me, it's more about implementation of it and if you should be chasing that shiny object to begin with. So heeding the caution, as we just talked about, is one thing, but also maybe you've seen this related to brand and your messaging. So many people are using AI tools like ChatGPT to create content that now when you're asking it a question to create you content, it's scraping other AI content. It's just becoming like this meta snowball of it's AI creating AI, and then all of a sudden now what is our brand differentiation? If you ask it to develop a blog about entrepreneurial marketing, and I ask it to develop a blog about entrepreneurial marketing, and we don't put a second thought into it, we both publish it, boy, they're both gonna read like AI, number one, and then two, they're probably gonna have the same 3 or 4 bullet points in the blog that we had it generated, because it's a pretty niche subject. And all of a sudden now you and I's voices sound the same on our website. Ugh, ick, gross, right? So you have to make sure to put your brand wash on it and really tend to that as you're using these tools, and not allow it to become this crutch that then you lose all your creativity and you become stagnant in your personal growth because you're relying on this tool to do everything for you. So I always try to tell marketers to heed that caution, but then make sure that they're being good stewards of their brand and the way that they use the tool, because just like any tool, it can be used for good and evil. And we want to make sure that our good is shown through in the way that we use it.
And absolutely, I'll give you an example on kind of one of my clients. When it very first came out, you start experimenting with it, and we found if we asked it to just write the whole article from scratch, you got this generic content, exactly what you were saying, that you could tell it was ChatGPT with coming out all of these answers. What we then, through experimentation to see where the line is and things, we found that we have a huge YouTube channel with an actual person writing out a script, saying the words all natural with all of the key content points. People don't know that you can actually grab the transcript from YouTube, put the transcript into ChatGPT, and it will turn it into an article, but it will use your brand language as part of it, because
which is really
CEO.
cool.
The CEO is talking, and the CEO talks in the brand voice. It's really because the brand is centered around him. And suddenly we're able to double content production, because the amount of YouTube videos going out, we're able to pull out the articles and embed it into an SEO strategy. The website now skyrockets. So we've kept the integrity of the brand. We've increased their SEO. Perfect. And it's just the whole little mix. But we can't do it without the YouTube. We looked at the bigger picture. So that's one of the examples.
You have to look at the bigger picture. You have to look at making sure that you are using the tool like that to integrate the brand voice in. And if you're not, then you have to make sure that you're putting it in there yourself, right? So the confidentiality, the privacy, the security, the brand, those are two of the many things that I try to think about when we're using it, because the way that we need to ultimately look at it is it's a tool for speed, kind of like, let's bring it back all the way around, kind of like our coffee and our Red Bull in the morning. It is ultimately the thing that's going to make us go really, really fast in the way that we handle our marketing, but we can't let it get away from us because it's changing so fast. One of the things I also see it as is it can be a major distraction as well. Like you just said, ChatGPT 5. Oh my gosh, the iPhone's going to have it in there. Like every day there's a new tool there's a new update, there's something new. And if we're spending all of our time keeping on top of those things, we'll not actually get anything done as marketers for what we're supposed to be working on as well. And so we can't let it distract us too. You should
Yeah.
definitely stay on top of trends and how you're using it. But I ultimately see, like if I had a crystal ball, just like how back in the day, there was marketing, and we bought media on advertisements, TV, stuff like that, and then all of a sudden there became digital marketing, and then now there's digital marketers, which I think is so strange. It's just that should just be marketing today because it's just status quo. That shouldn't be anyone's title. I believe
Yeah.
there should be no like digital marketing man. No, you're just a marketing manager. But then there was then we started seeing social media marketing manager. I ultimately see someone who is, maybe this is a marketing ops role, or whatever, but I probably will see like a title soon related to AI, like an intelligence marketing manager, an AI marketing who's just responsible for integrating, maintaining, and then seeing through the success of these AI tools in the marketing department.
Because you're already seeing those job roles and those job positions in IDP and anything business operations and digital transformations in
Yeah,
kind of
chief
the
intelligence
larger.
officer. There's things like
Yeah,
that already,
they're
right?
already there, and you
Yep.
like, so exactly, as a prediction, that's a pretty solid prediction. You can
We'll see.
see that coming and say, I feel pretty confident on that one. I feel confident because to be honest, the thing that's where my head is at, and again, it could be absolutely wrong, but I do see the lower level remedial tasks being automated, being
Mhm.
chopped out. I remember I had to do so much manual stuff as a social media manager 10
Oh
years
yeah,
ago. And now it's incredible what all of that is automated. Like, the social media managers don't know how lucky they got it. Okay.
I
I'm just
know,
putting it
right?
out there. But that's not, I don't think in 10 years' time, again, like you said, is a lot of this stuff is just going to chop out of that. As long as we keep putting the higher level thinking, creativity from a human into it, the quality.
Yes, you have to
Yeah.
maintain humanity, which is maybe the chief score of this, is that we're ultimately marketing to other humans, right? There is no B2B, there's no B2C. It's P2P or H2H, or like Brian Kramer says, human to human. Um, and the more that we insert tools into it, it can run away from us, and it'll be robots marketing to humans. And it's a little bit like that right now, because I think a lot of people are putting so much emphasis on like chatbots and all these other things where you're integrating. It's like, oh, it's smart, it's acting like a person. It's like, well, cool. People will get a little used to that, but people want to do business with people. They want to have conversations like this, Charlie. They don't want to sit here and talk to the Charlie avatar AI robot. Like, I want to do the interview with you. If you said, hey, I'm gonna have my robot do it and I'll publish it later, I'm not even involved at all. I'm gonna sit here and go, well, there's no human experience in that. People want human experiences. Our humanity will always be human, and we have to remember that human communications is ultimately needs to be our North Star.
Yeah, that is absolutely, like, that's the valuable time. That's the valuable input here, is
Yeah.
us speaking as human.
Yep.
The non-valuable time is the AI editing that happens behind this software.
Correct.
I
Yeah.
don't need to
So
sit
good
there
point.
and,
Good point.
you
Use it for
know,
the things that are not as valuable, so that you can focus on being more productive and being more human. Love it. It's exactly the plan. There's your AI plan right there.
on that bombshell, on that note, I think that's a perfect place to end today's podcast. And as a point for people to take away, there's been a whole ton of little actionable tips that people can be putting into their business tomorrow. So I absolutely love it. Now, Tim, where can people find you and get in touch with you?
Yeah, would love for everyone to connect with me on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on my website. Everything is TN Hines. It's TNHINES. So that's tnhines.com. That's linkedin.com/TN My Instagram is Instagram/TN Hines_speaks, because my speaking and consulting. So pretty easy to find me with anything TN Hines. I grab that brand right away.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for your time today. And I hope you come on as another guest sometime soon.
Absolutely. Thank you, Charlie.